Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnubham Subhadadajikachaya Stote Sisimat AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnubham Subhadadajikachaya Stote Sisimat Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Gaur Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Chapter 13. Brahma stealing the boys and calves. Text 6. Atra bhoktavyam asmabhir Devarudam shidadita Vatsa samipe papitra Chanantu Shanakaistrinam Atra bhoktavyam asmabhir Devarudam shidardita Vatsa samipe papitra Charantu Shanakaistrinam Atra bhoktavyam asmabhir Devarudam shidardita Vatsa samipe papitra Chanantu Shanakaistrinam Vaishnavis. Atra, here, on this spot, Bhoktavyam, our lunch should be eaten. Asmabi, by us. Diva arudham, it is very late now. Shuddha ardita, we are fatigued with hunger. Vatsa, the calves. Samipe, nearby. Apa, water. Pitva, after drinking. Charantu, let them eat. Shanakai, slowly. Trinam, the grasses. Translation: I think we should take our lunch here, since we are already hungry because the time is very late. Here the calves may drink water and go slowly here and there and eat the grass. Text 7. Accepting Lord Krishna's proposal, the cowherd boys allowed the calves to drink water from the river and then tied them to trees where there was green, tender grass. Then the boys opened their baskets of food and began eating with Krishna in great transcendental pleasure. Text 8. Like the whirl of a lotus flower surrounded by petals and leaves, Krishna sat in the center, encircled by lines of his friends, who all looked very beautiful. Every one of them was trying to look forward toward Krishna, thinking that Krishna might look toward him. In this way, they all enjoyed their lunch in the forest. Purport: to a pure devotee, Krishna is always visible, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Valokayanti, and as indicated by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Chiro Mukham. If by accumulating pious activities, Krita Punya Punja, one is raised to the platform of pure devotional service, Krishna is always visible in the core of one's heart. One who has attained such perfection is all beautiful in transcendental bliss. The present Krishna conscious movement is an attempt to keep Krishna in the center. For if this is done, all activities will automatically become beautiful and blissful. Om Gana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Atra Bhoktavyam Asmabir. Here on this spot, our lunch should be taken. This is Krishna's directive for pleasure. Krishna is demonstrating that the Supreme Absolute Truth is full of variety, because Krishna, as a Supreme Enjoyer, knows that variety is what is the essence of pleasure. And with his cowherd boys, he's tasting varieties of pleasure pastimes on the bank of the Yamuna. Yesterday we spoke about the attributes of this particular spot. Atra, here on this spot. Bhoktavyam, our lunch should be eaten. Asmabi, by us. Yes, the Supreme Absolute Truth eats, not out of necessity, but simply out of a desire to please his devotees and enjoy with his devotees. We can recall the attributes of Atra, here on this spot, we spoke about yesterday. But remember, as we're making spiritual advancement, we hear the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be newer and newer, as if we never heard them before. So, all the sense objects are here at this spot. Atra Bhoktavyam Asmabi. There is the sight of the beautiful Vrindavan forest, especially of the trees, the beautiful visuals created by the trees. Then there is the fragrance coming from the lotus flowers, permeating everywhere. And then the sounds of the birds chirping and the bees humming. And then there is the texture of the soft sand on the bank of the Jamuna. And taste, that's going to be the lunch. The cows will be tasting fresh green grass. This is why the cowherd boys are not so worried about the cows wandering far away, because the grass is so good that they know the cows will be greedy to relish those grasses right there at that spot. So atra bhoktavyam ashmabi. It's not only the boys and Krishna that are eating at this spot, but the cows are also eating. What can we do about our bhakti culture and philosophy? It is cow-centric. Srila Prabhupada has stated that human society today has no idea how much prosperity can happen simply by taking care of cows. The cows were tied up, yes, but at the same time, the cows had luscious green grass to arouse their greed. So in this way, everyone is delighting with Krishna in the center. And how is it that Krishna is in the center? We hear that all the boys are leaning toward him. This shows how spontaneously they're always having Krishna in the center of everything. It doesn't require a strain or a struggle like sometimes we may feel in the recuperative phase of devotional service. We spoke about how bhakti is divided into two phases, the recuperation phase and the relishing phase. In order to get to the stage of complete relishing, we have to recuperate. We have to regain our health. But these cowherd boys, they are situated on the platform of pure, loving, spontaneous service to Krishna. Therefore, naturally, they're leaning toward Krishna. Just like in Vrindavan, naturally the grass all leans toward Krishna when he walks by. The trees all bow down their branches toward Krishna, laden with fruit when Krishna walks by. This all happens naturally. The seasons change simply in accordance with what gives Krishna the best pleasure. Some forests in Vrindavan have this season, some have that season, and some forests in Vrindavan have all seasons at once, all for Krishna's pleasure. This is real life. So they're leaning toward Krishna, thinking, Krishna will look at me, Krishna will look at me. This is not selfish, this is their spontaneous love. And what is Krishna doing? He's making it so that each cowherd boy sees Krishna's face and limbs, showing you that you'll never be disappointed as an individual in bhakti. You'll never be crowded out. You'll never have to have the anxiety that Krishna will never notice your service because you don't have a particular position or you don't have a particular status. Therefore, Krishna is going to overlook you. Naturally, as a devotee matures, he or she wants to take the burden of the parampara and in that way try to ease the transcendental anxiety of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you see that older devotees, as well as younger devotees, they want to become qualified how to carry on Lord Chaitanya's mission. But it's not that if they don't get a particular title or position, that's the end of the world. No. Any service done for Krishna, with Krishna fully in the center, can attract Krishna's attention. So these cowherd boys are showing the full development of the natural inclination to love Krishna. They're not being egotistical. Will Krishna look at me? Krishna is facilitating their focus. Krishna is making them think that every cowherd boy except one is not getting Krishna's direct look. Krishna is directly looking at each individual cowherd boy. So each individual cowherd boy had that confidence. Krishna is looking at me. Krishna is looking at me. How this can happen is beyond our material calculation. We may feel like we're being ignored or left out in bhakti. We're not getting enough attention. But for any sincere devotee, sooner or later Krishna lets you know that he is appreciating your service. And our goal is that Krishna becomes pleased by our service. But that can only happen when you please Krishna's devotee. That's why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para. Krishna, I'm running after your devotee, shouting Krishna, Krishna. He doesn't say he's running after Krishna directly. Srila Prabhupada wrote this letter to the BBT in the mid-70s. How Bhaktivinoda Thakur is declaring the standard. You run after the devotee. If the spiritual master is pleased by an activity, then it is spiritual. If the spiritual master is not pleased by an activity, then how can one say it's spiritual? It is nonsense. This is our standard. Yasya prasada, bhagavat prasada. Yasya prasada, nagatika topi. The cowherd boys are fully focused on Krishna. They're the experts in keeping Krishna in the center. And Krishna is reciprocating with their purity, their spontaneous expertise. This spontaneous expertise in serving Krishna causes worries for some. It did for Hiranyakashipu. He was very concerned. Where has my son's inclination toward Krishna come from? First, he took it as a joke when Prahlad told him, anyone who identifies with the body must be in anxiety. That sadhu manye suyavaya dehinam sada samudvigya dhyama sadgrahat. Anyone whose intelligence is bound up in the bodily conception of life, sada samudvigya, must always be in anxiety. Father, best of the demons, that is the greatest thing I've learned in school today. Later we're going to find out why Prahlad keeps answering that way. This is the best thing I've learned in school. The first time, Hiranyakashipu just laughed. What is this foolishness? He didn't take it seriously. And Hiranyakashipu instructed the demoniac teacher, Sandanamarka, educate this boy more thoroughly, please. He's speaking nonsense. But Hiranyakashipu didn't take seriously what comes from the mouth of a 5-year-old boy. But then it came time for the second review. And that's when all hell broke loose. But first, remember the affection that Hiranyakashipu had for Prahlad. The second time, when it was time for Prahlad's second performance review, like at the workplace, you have to undergo these performance reviews, and they're not so palatable. But Hiranyakashipu was so outpouring with affection for Prahlad's performance review. He sat Prahlad on his lap. He smelled Prahlad's head. We have any fathers here who smell the heads of their sons or daughters? Yes, it's a sign of affection. It's part of the rasa of being a parent. So Hiranyakashipu was doing that. Yes, he was a terrorist. Yes, he was totally Stalinistic and oppressive, but he had affection for his son. Let's not forget that. So Prahlad is on Hiranyakashipu's lap, and Hiranyakashipu is embracing him, smelling his head, and the tears from Hiranyakashipu's eyes were rolling down onto Prahlad's face. What a scene of tenderness. What a scene of family love. Who can forget that? And then again he asked Prahlad the simple question, Prahlad, what's the best thing you learned from your teachers? And what was Prahlad's answer? Shabanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam. The 9 processes of devotional service are the best thing I've learned from my teachers, and anyone who knows these processes is the wisest of all persons. This time, Hiranyakashipu's rage went through the ceiling. But remember how affectionate he was. What happened? This shows you how you cannot trust those situated in the material energy. We were discussing this in Denver a few days ago. The verse from the 5th canto. Yas yasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate sra harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna. For someone who is not in Krishna consciousness, how can they have any good qualities? Kuto, where are they? Where are the qualities? Manoretenasati davato bahi. They're situated outside, running in the illusory energy. So you might think that, wow, that verse is kind of sectarian, isn't it? It's not with the times these days, you know? It's not inclusive. That's the magic word, inclusiveness. Where are their good qualities? What do you think? Have you thought about this verse and how restrictive it seems to sound? Why would the Bhagavatam take such a stance? Sometimes we even hear from devotees that, you know, the non-devotees treat you better. I know lots of devotees, or not lots, but some devotees, or at least a few devotees who they don't treat you right. Whereas I know some non-devotees who have integrity and are very circumspect, very careful in their dealings. But you're making an evaluation on the relative plane. That's the point. The Bhagavatam wants you to focus on where is the individual situated. If you're situated in the external energy, no matter how nice you may seem within that context, you've got a problem because you're wrongly situated. And similarly, if you're actually situated in devotional service, even if you accidentally make a mistake, apichet siddharacharo, still sadhu eva samanta, you're still considered a sadhu. So what's going on here? It's all about your standpoint. What is the ground you are standing on? If you are standing on the ground of Krishna's internal potency, devotional service, then you're one thing. If you're standing on the ground of the external energy, you're another thing. Again, this judgment by the 5th canto. Halava bhaktasya. The abhakta. Sanskrit is very convenient for concepts of self-realization. There's bhakta and abhakta. Harav abhakta. Harava bhaktasya katoma guna. Where are the good qualities in the abhakta? Sounds very exclusivist and it's like a put down, isn't it? But you have to understand it scientifically, otherwise you'll be bewildered. Naturally, you want to love everyone. Naturally, you want everyone to be your friend. But why is the Bhagavatam making such distinctions? Well, the distinction has been made at the very beginning of Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo namatsaranam satam. This Bhagavatam completely rejects all religion that has material motivation. It's not meant, this Bhagavatam is not meant for envious persons. It's meant for the Paramahansas. So why you blame Srimad Bhagavatam? Right in the first few verses, the standard is mentioned. So then you get to the 5th canto and Halava Bhaktasya Kato Mahadguna. How can those situated in the external energy have good qualities? You have to look at things from the Bhagavatam's overview and not get caught up in the stream of everyday mundane affairs. All right, so let's be as fair as we can be. Yes, there are abhaktas, non-devotees, that have demonstrated some integrity, some character, justice, and there are devotees who have slipped up and caused pain to other devotees. And there have been devotees who have exploited their position. But still, the Bhagavatam's standard remains intact. Look at where each one is situated. So how to understand this better? Let's say you and your friends decide to rob an armored car. And so you actually get away with it. You plan very carefully. I don't know if this happens in the USA anymore. It happens in South Africa, I know. That, persons plot to ambush an armored car and they get away with all the contents. So you get to your hideout, and what do? You show such character, such integrity, such fairness. You divide all the money equally amongst all the thieves. Good qualities, right? Noteworthy, yes, commendable. In fact, one thief might say to the other thief, look, I know that you have financial problems. Your son has difficulty paying back his college debts. I'll give you my share of the loot. Oh, how magnanimous, right? We would celebrate that, yes? And we would say, just see, how can the Bhagavatam say what it says? Here you see integrity. Here you see good qualities. One thief is giving up his share of the stolen money to another thief. This is really wonderful. And you forget all about that you're dealing with thieves. So the Bhagavatam is taking an overview. Look at the situation. Look at the standpoint. If you're running in the illusory energy, if you're operating in the illusory energy, then it may seem you have good qualities, but from the Bhagavatam's viewpoints, you don't. Because it's just like honor amongst thieves. Everyone steals material nature from Krishna and then divides it fairly and celebrates their good qualities. Just see how philanthropic, just see how charitable I am, just see how kind and loving I am. So you have to understand the Bhagavatam's viewpoint. It's the most holistic viewpoint. Look at the ground that's under your feet. Is your foundation the external energy, or is it the spiritual energy? If it's the spiritual energy, then Mahatmanas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashrita. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, the great souls, they're under the protection of the internal potency. They're engaged in devotional service without deviation. So everything is about, where is your footing? What are you standing on? Just like in martial arts. Some of you have practiced martial arts before. If your stance is not correct, what can an expert do to you? With one finger, the expert can knock you over. Just, he knows exactly where to poke. He can look at your stance. Nope, your stance is incorrect. It's not solid. And just with one finger, you'll fall over. So it looks like you have good qualities in your stance. And you may think you're very expert. But the true expert can understand you're not situated properly. You'll be blown over very easily. Similarly, good qualities manifest within the illusory energy can change instantly. When I'm at universities, I speak about how there have been economists, celebrated economists, who have put forth the theory that economic growth is necessary for moral development. If people are going to show tolerance, patience, and fairness to one another, you must have constant economic growth. Because as soon as the economic growth stops, then everyone gets nasty. Therefore, the solution to the world's problems is non-stop economic growth. Because that's the only way people are going to be nice. And you see that happening now. If the economy slows down, then everyone starts wondering, hey, what are these people that don't look like us coming to our country? They're the reason, they're the fault. How can you trust the good qualities of someone situated in the illusory energy? Now, Hiranyakashipu is an extreme example. He's becoming a devastator. Where has this inclination to serve Krishna? Where does it come from? He smells a rat. Inclinations to serve Krishna. That inclination that has reached such a level with the cowherd boys on the bank of the Yamuna, Hiranyakashipu detects. in Prahlad, and he wants to know where it comes from. The first persons he blames are the teachers. You teachers are duplicitous. The truth has come out now. Just like when you've contacted a disease, it takes some time for the disease to manifest, but sooner or later you can see the disease. And now I see it in you, Sandanamarka. You're pretending to be my loyal servants, but you've been duplicitous. You've been teaching Prahlad about devotional service all this time. And of course, the teachers, Sandanamarka, they were, no, it's not us. No. We did not give him any loving, spontaneous service to Krishna attitude. This inclination you're smelling, Hiranyakashipu, it doesn't come from us. So then, Hiranyakashipu turns his rage on Prahlad. And what happens next is what Prabhupada calls the logic of amputation. It all made sense to Hiranyakashipu. The logic of amputation. If you, on your own body, have a limb that is toxic, you have to amputate it for the good of the whole body, for the happiness of the whole body. Similarly, someone may be your own family member, but if that family member goes bad, you have to take action. And then Hiranyakashipu presented himself as being fair. What do you mean? I've got good qualities. If there's someone outside the family who's favorable, you treat that person like your own son. But if your own son goes off, then for the sake of the whole body, you have to take action. In other words, I'm fair, I'm just. Another example he gave was that an herb in the forest is not a human being. But still, if that herb has healing potencies, you can take benefit from it. Similarly, if someone from outside your family is favorable, you can take benefit. But if someone within your own family becomes like Prahlad, then you must follow the logic of amputation. It all made sense to him. What was Prahlad's response? You see, Prahlad was answering honestly. What's the best thing my teachers taught me? He wasn't lying, because who are Prahlad's teachers? Narada Muni, and through Narada Muni the whole parampara, Vyasadeva on up. So Prahlad was responding honestly. What's the best thing I've learned from my teachers? Well, it's this, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Now, when Hiranyakashipu persisted in trying to nail down this inclination to serve Krishna, where does it come from? He's so concerned because, after all, Vishnu is his enemy. And the Acharyas point out that Hiranyakashipu knew that if you please Vishnu and go back to Vaikuntha, you get the Sarupya liberation. You get the same form as Vishnu. So that made him even more angry. Prahlad, I know what's in store for you. You're going to get the same form as Vishnu. That means you're non-different from Vishnu. I've got to kill you. So Prahlad is being honest. This inclination to serve Krishna, where did it come from? Well, it came from my teachers. And then Prahlad is sarcastic. He says, Matirna Krishna Paratasvatova Mitobi Pajeta Grihavatana. He's actually being sarcastic. As far as you, Hiranyakashipu, you'll never develop an inclination to serve Krishna because Grihavatana, you're so determined to enjoy material life. So there's no way an inclination to serve Krishna can come from a person like you or any mundane person or any combination of mundane persons and the individual. It's not possible. Now you might say, does Prahlad mean that you'll never get bhakti from any kind of association? No, he doesn't mean that. He means not from mundane association. Because then in the next verses he explains that you have to smear upon yourself the dust from the lotus feet of a devotee of Krishna. So when Prahlad says, Matirna Krishna Paratasvatova, no way will you get the inclination to serve Krishna by associating with others. he's referring to material association. Bhakti cannot sprout from material association. So how does Prabhupada take it in the purport? He immediately strikes out. He launches a nuclear attack against those who have tried to comment on Bhagavad Gita and politicians who use Bhagavad Gita. Matirna Krishna Paratatsvatova. You'll never get an inclination to serve Krishna from these guys. They're talking about Krishna, but they have no realization. They think Krishna is an ordinary person. Therefore, by reading Bhagavad Gita written by such persons, no one will ever become Krishna conscious. So that's how Prabhupada comes charging in. Yes, Prahlad. Prahlad has pointed out, the inclination to serve Krishna will never come from those dedicated to enjoying the material world. So in the purport, Prabhupada emphasizes these false commentators on Bhagavad Gita, these politicians who use Bhagavad Gita, they're simply trying to enjoy the material world. Therefore, you can never benefit from them. So in this way, the parampara goes on. Shukadeva Goswami is revealing to Pritchett Maharaj the loving pastimes of Krishna and the cowherd boys on the bank of the Jamuna. And you see the full development of the inclination to serve Krishna. It's happening at a particular spot, at a particular time. The lunch has been delayed. Why? Because of the killing of Aghasura. That killing of Aghasura was a pleasure pastime. Even after Aghasura is dead, his body with its mouth wide open becomes a spot for, it becomes an amusement park in Vrindavan. And what happened to Aghasura? This is how perfect and complete Krishna's pastimes are. The Acharyas point out that Aghasura got more than liberation. He actually didn't simply merge into Krishna's body. He went to Vaikuntha with Sarupya liberation. He got the same form as Narayan in Vaikuntha. Why? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that for a split second, Aghasura, while Krishna was in his mouth, thought of Krishna with devotion for a split second. And therefore, he got more than mere liberation. He went to Vaikuntha and got the same form as Narayan. But he didn't go to Vrindavan. He didn't go to Goloka Vrindavan because that wasn't his attitude. So this is how Krishna is fair to everyone. So that killing of Aghasura delayed lunchtime. So now it's time for the cows and the cowherd boys to enjoy the varieties of their lunch. Krishna knows that variety is the mother of all enjoyment. So each of the cowherd boys, as we said yesterday, has different types of lunch brought from home, and they all want to offer their particular delicacies to Krishna. In this way, life goes on in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes. You have to understand what Prahlad means by griha vratanam, intense focus on enjoying material life. Like a dog, when it gets a bone in its mouth, you can't yank the bone out. You ever seen that? A dog gets something in its mouth, a bone or a piece of cloth. Or a monkey in Vrindavan steals a banana and you try to get it back. so much energy is expended on holding on that the person can't hear any instructions from a sadhu. So this is what Prahlad's referring to. He's not referring to persons with mixed desires. Yes, I want Krishna, I want to serve Krishna, and I want to enjoy material life too. He's referring to someone who's really dug in terms of attachment to material existence. And Hiranyakashipu, of course, is the exemplar of that. Still, don't forget Hiranyakashipu's affection. But how quickly that affection turned. How quickly it changed. He actually threw Prahlad off his lap. A 5-year-old boy, a big ogre like Hiranyakashipu, after crying and shedding tears over Prahlad's face and smelling his head. The next minute, throws him on the floor and demands he be killed. It's a very vivid example of why you can't trust anyone operating under illusory energy. For a while it may seem that there are good qualities, but sooner or later, when the economy goes down, then you see everyone's real face. Who cares about freedom, justice, equality, brotherhood? Forget all that stuff. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you for such a nice presentation about the verse. But in the verse, there was in the purport there is a mention of Krita Punya Punja Punya. Like if you accumulate a lot of past credits, then you can come to the platform of the pure devotional service. But in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, like through Agyata Sikriti, one comes in touch with the pure devotees, and then he desires for pure devotional service, which actually elevates him to the platform of the pure devotional service, not the past credits of billions of millions of birth.
Yes, this is a common question. Krita Punya Punja. Shukadeva Goswami says, these cowherd boys must have performed pious activities for millions of births in order to get this chance to play with Krishna. You have to understand that Shukadeva Goswami is referring to a common currency of how you measure something inconceivable. It's like in the age of color you'd say, how many trillions of dollars would it take just to get a chance to be invited to the White House for the Christmas dinner? It's a way of expressing exclamation. How many pious activities would it take to associate with Krishna? No pious activities will get you to Krishna, but it's a way of just measuring, like how many lakhs would it take? You have to have some way of comparison. It's like metaphorical. Like it's impossible to figure out how by any material accumulation of punya anyone can associate with Krishna. Therefore, Krita Punya Punja. How many millions of births of pious activities did it take? Okay? It's the currency of the time in a pious civilization. Brigupati, that's the last question because we're getting late.
Thank you, Maharaj, for another beautiful class. Can I ask a question? It's just going forward a little bit, something that happens a little bit further on in the 10th canto. It's okay.
If time permits.
Okay. So there's a few chapters where it describes the rasa dance. So in the first chapter it talks about it's glorifying the gopis because they took all risks and sacrifice to be with Krishna. As soon as they heard Krishna's flute, they dropped what they were doing. They might have been breastfeeding their babies. They left. They might have been feeding their husbands. They left, despite the fact that they were trying to be restrained by their husbands, their parents, guardians like that. They just disregarded all that and they left. So they glorified as sacrificing everything, taking all risks to be with Krishna. But then later on, about 2 or 3 chapters down, in a section where it's Sukadeva Goswami's defending Krishna's character, it's coming up like, how is Krishna not immoral because he was dancing with other people's wives? And it points out that actually the gopis they went to Krishna in their spiritual bodies, that their physical body or their material body was just lying there in bed with their husband. So it's a little difficult to put the two together, it seems.
Yeah, there's the fine print. There's always fine print in Krishna Leela. The details. You want to get into the details, you read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They're different types of gopis at different levels. Some are eternally liberated. Others are gopis that have just joined Krishna's pastimes. So when the flute blows, the first ones who go are the Nitya Siddha gopis. They're gone. The ones who linger need some more purification. So they're different groups. And so they all have their different statuses, even though they're all associating with Krishna. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.